everybody. I haven't done a sit down video like this for a little while, and to be honest I feel a little bit awkward, but I have the house to myself. I've got a few neighbours around here, and we may get interrupted by planes at some point because apparently I live near an airport, but apart from that we're good to go. So let's just see, I'm just going to try and relax and chat to you. I really wanted to talk about theme parks. As if you watch my my videos normally, you'll notice that I'm a big theme park fan. We tend to go, wherever we go, we like to go to a theme park. Like if I know there's one near, I want to go there, and we always will. So I thought I would give you some tips and tricks on kind of just theme parks in general, and the way I kind of like to plan my days when we go. Obviously I'm in Australia now, and even though it's winter, it is very sunny currently, which is great. And obviously over on the northern hemisphere it's summer, so a lot of people will be on the school holidays now, and that's probably something a lot of people will be doing with their time during the holidays sometimes. So I thought I'd kind of just give you my tips and tricks on how to have the best day at a theme park. So let's go ahead. Okay, so firstly I want to talk about how to get there. So I always like to know what's going to be the best route to travel. Obviously when I'm in the UK we would normally drive, or I don't think I've ever in the UK ever been to a theme park where we haven't driven, but you could get buses and things like that depending on where you are and which theme park you're going to. Sometimes that's an option, but generally we would drive. But when you're abroad and on holiday, your transport tends to vary much because you don't really always have a car with you. So then you would need to look at trains and buses and what's going to be the best route. So most recently we have been to Movie World on the Gold Coast. To get there we were thinking about hiring a car, but we actually ended up getting a bus into the centre and then getting on a train for about an hour, and then there's a second bus from there which is on for about 10 minutes, and that takes you directly to the park. So it's a little bit faffier than getting a car. Once you're kind of on, you can just relax, and especially coming back at the end of the day, you always get really tired at the end of the day at a theme park because you're having so much fun that it's always kind of a pain for whoever has to drive back. And I always know if it was to be me, I wouldn't feel like driving back at the end of the day, so public transport is sometimes a really good option to do as well. Another thing I would recommend as well, if this is kind of going to be one of the main things you do in your holidays or in your time off, and if you're going somewhere that's a little bit further away from home, it's sometimes worth kind of it's sometimes worth staying in a bed and breakfast or like a little hotel nearby if it's going to be easier for you to kind of travel the day before, and then make sure you're not sleep deprived on the day you're going and you're not up really early travelling to then go. When we were younger we used to go to Alton Towers with my family, and then lots of other families that we were all friends with, and we used to travel the day before and stay over in a bed and breakfast, and then the next day we would all go to the theme park, get up early, go to the theme park then, and then coming back the next day we always used to stop at a water park as well, which kind of make a full weekend of it, and that way we all had fun. Nobody was too tired from travelling on the same day, and we all had great fun staying in the bed and breakfast, and I've got really fond memories of that time. And that's definitely an option as well, and something that if you wanted to kind of make more of a weekend of it, that's definitely a good idea as well. Another point I would suggest is knowing your opening times. Parks tend to change their opening times depending on the season. I know that Alton Towers has recently extended their opening times to a bit later for the summer holidays, but also theme parks sometimes for Halloween. Some parks like to stay open later and have like ride experiences in the dark, and that's always really fun, so it's worth knowing your opening times before. Also knowing what time it's opened, because you want to make sure you get there for opening times, because otherwise by the time you get there the queues are often really big already. So yeah, it's definitely worth knowing your time so you can get the full benefit of your full day in the park. Being aware of when the school holidays are, as well as public holidays, and even sometimes weekends can make parks a lot busier. So obviously we don't all have the option of taking time off kind of mid-season and taking time out of work and things like that. But if you can, it's definitely worth doing. Ideally I would always recommend going kind of possibly not in the middle of the summer, going when the kids are at school, on a midweek as well, because even sometimes Fridays and Mondays you'd get people that would bring the kids out of school for like that extra day, and it can sometimes be busier Fridays and Mondays as well. So maybe like on a Wednesday, autumn time, when the kids are at school, and that way you're going to make sure it's quite quiet. Obviously you can't always rely on the weather depending on where you are, but that's the risk you wanted to take. I would rather kind of have a slightly drizzly day. You can always adapt your clothes to the weather as well, rather than spending a day in the summer full of kids in queues that are hours and hours long, because you just don't enjoy the experience as much. So yeah, that's definitely something to be aware of as well. Kind of making a general plan for your day is good advice, as well as kind of doing a bit of research about the park you're going to as well. For me, I always kind of have a general idea of how I like to do theme parks. I like to kind of have a kind of start off ride, one that's going to be kind of like a biggish roller coaster, but without being really, really scary. So one that I just think is really, really fun, but kind of really gets your adrenaline going for the day. That's one I would always go to first. So something like Superman ride in Movie World, or Nemesis at Alton Towers, or something like Space Mountain in Disneyland. Something that's going to be really, really fun and still got the adrenaline, but without kind of being one that you have to kind of psych yourself up for a little bit. And once I've done one big roller coaster, then I'm fine to go on all the really, really big ones, because I'm already kind of in that mood. And then tend to be around lunchtime, I would kind of normally stop off and have something to eat for lunch, and then I'd want to go on the kind of slightly smaller ones, so like your water rides, the kind of more family-based rides. Often families they're sometimes quieter around lunchtime, because you get a lot of people that are having food and things at that point, so you sometimes can get on them a little bit faster. But also once you've eaten, you don't want to be there and going on any vertical drops or upside down for around an hour, just because your food will come up again, and that's never good. You don't want to be spending the day feeling sick. So yeah, something like a water ride, like a rapids or log flumes, things like that, they tend to be the best ones to do for the middle of the day. And then at the end of the day, I would always like to do the rest of the bigger rides I haven't done, and then after that, if I have time, if the queues aren't too bad, then you can kind of swing back around and do everything that you want to do again. And then that way you get everything done. But obviously it does depend on each park, kind of where everything is. And also sometimes you have to be flexible with your plans, like some rides may shut midday if they're having any technical problems. The weather can make a difference. Any rides that are inside, if it starts to rain, everybody runs to the inside rides, and they get suddenly very, very busy. It's a Small World in Disneyland. If there's a thunderstorm in Disneyland, It's a Small World, it becomes very, very, very popular, so it's not a good time to do those. So sometimes if you want to brave the rain, it's sometimes a good idea to do those when it's the bigger rides when it's raining, because the queues tend to die down because people just don't want to stand in the rain. Fair enough. So you can kind of gauge it on how your day is going in general. So things like fast passes are always a good idea. Not all theme parks have them, but some do, and especially for new attractions and especially in peak season. So if you do end up going in holiday time or a time that's going to be particularly busy, fast passes are a lifesaver. You can some parks do them different ways. Some you would go and you would just say you want to go on a ride, and then you'd get printed out a ticket for a particular time slot, and then you can know that, say at 2:30 I'm going on Oblivion at Alton Towers. And then you know then. Or some you would have a pass for a few different rides, and then you can use them once at any time in the day for each ride. Them ones are really good actually, because sometimes a ride may be quieter, but you'll know it'll get busier later, so you can go on and queue normally. By the time you come off again, if you want to go on again, you've got your fast pass ticket, so you don't have to stay in the big queue. So I would say to make sure to do your research before going to any park. Often some rides are shut for maintenance work in quieter seasons, so if you are wanting to go to a particular park to go on a particular ride, if you got there and that ride was shut for a few months, you would be really, really upset. So it's worth knowing in advance, and then you can kind of plan your trip around that if you wanted to kind of hang on and go at a different time, or just go knowing that you're not going to be able to get on that ride today. In terms of what to wear and what to bring, I always like to wear something that is comfy. I always go for layers, because especially in UK parks and even overseas as well, the weather can change, and there's nothing worse than being too hot or being too cold, because you can't enjoy your day as much. So I would kind of always make sure I wore something lightweight, something that's going to dry fast for any of those wet rides. Bring a waterproof if you want to. I don't always tend to, but if it's something that is a ride known for really getting you wet, something like Valhalla at Blackpool, then maybe bring a waterproof. But you can usually buy like the ponchos and things like that, but it just depends on whether you would want to spend the money on those things. I always like to bring spare socks for that reason as well, and maybe like a spare jumper or something to have in the car, or something to kind of keep you warm on the way back, because you don't want to be sitting in any wet clothes or anything that's going to make you feel cold on the way back. Going to a theme park, I always like to have my hair down. I used to always tie it up, and you would think tying it up would be the better option because it's out of your way for any rides. But actually, if you have your hair tied up or in a bun, when you go to put your head back on all the seats, which you're always advised to do on the roller coasters, you actually can't sit your head back that far, and you can sometimes hurt your neck if your neck's not all the way back on the seat, so you don't want to do that for that. But I would always probably have my hair down and then make sure I bring a hairbrush, because after you're on a ride you tend to be a bit like so just have a hairbrush there just to kind of keep your hair out your face and stop it annoying you. And if you want to bring any spare makeup and things like that, I tend to always bring maybe like a lipstick or a lip gloss, and then some powder, and then the rest of the things I don't tend to bring with me, but it depends, you know, everyone's individual. If you want to bring more makeup, then go ahead, it's your day. Be aware of which parks allow you to bring your own food in. If you're on a budget, buying food in a park can actually be quite a big expense, and especially if you're on some kind of special diet. Food park is never very healthy, it tends to be fast food based, and if that's not your kind of thing, then you probably don't want to spend your money on that. Some parks allow you to bring your own food in, which is great. You can bring a picnic, sit somewhere nice and just enjoy your dinner there. Some parks don't, but if you want to take the risk and sneak stuff in, we have done that recently and it was all fine, and lots of people do it, so sometimes the rules are there but they're not always really heavily enforced, so it's up to you what you want to do there, but just be aware that food in parks can be very, very pricey. So another point is discounts. Very rarely would I pay full price to go to theme parks, and it's not because I don't think they're worth the money, it's just you don't really have to. It does depend on the time of year, and obviously if you decide to go very last minute, sometimes the offers aren't available to you. But if you kind of decide a little bit in advance, look out for things like vouchers on cereal packets, in newspapers, online offers. I know there's some kind of loyalty cards for certain things like Nectar points and things like that, Tesco club cards. You can sometimes get deals with those for theme parks. And then when you're abroad, look out for passes for various attractions in general. And currently we have I'll write it in the description, but it's something like a VIP pass, and that includes SeaWorld, which I probably won't be going to, Wet n Wild, one other which is like a farm park. Again, I will write more information about this in the description, and then Movie World Oz. And there is also another one available that we're planning on getting soon, which includes like Dream World, another water park, and another few attractions. And basically by the time you've kind of used them a couple of times, your money's, you've already kind of got your money's worth. And the ones we have you can use for a year, and you can use them as many times as you want, so it's definitely worth your money if that's something you're planning on doing a few times. So just kind of being aware on different offers, because why pay full price if you don't have to? It just makes sense. So I think that is just about everything. I have probably forgotten some points, and there's definitely more. And obviously if anybody wants me to talk about any specific parks, then I'm more than happy to do so, because this is all very, very general and it does kind of vary from park to park. But I have been to quite a few now, in quite a few different countries. I've never been to Florida though, so if you want any information on any of the big Florida parks, that is still a dream. One day it will happen, and then I'll be happy to share my information with you, but until then, sadly, I can't. But any other park in general, ask me, and if I've been there, I'd be more than happy to kind of share my words of wisdom on that. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel if you like to. I'm not sure if everybody knows how to do that. There's a little subscribe button, just click on that. It's completely free. Some people are worried that you have to pay, but it's completely free, and then you'll be the first to see my videos once I upload them. You just click on your subscription section, and then any videos that you are subscribed to will pop up in there. So it's a really easy way to follow different people's videos, and I'd really appreciate it. Leave me a comment letting me know what is your favourite theme park and your number one tip for any theme park that you visit. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!